Okay, great. So good evening, Rebecca. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I'm really excited to do this.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited as well.
My pleasure. I'm going to start by giving a little bit of background. I remember getting to meet you the first time, I think it was about 6 years ago, when you were doing
Wow.
in Jerusalem, and I was just doing a little bit of rebranding in my business, nothing fancy, but my colors changed, and you were offering headshots with a bunch of women in Jerusalem. I'm like, that's it, I'm going to go. And it was a very comfortable experience. I don't think I'd ever done headshots before, so I had no
Really?
idea.
Wow.
I don't think so. Sometimes it's hard, after a business has grown and grown and grown, to be able to turn the clock back and remember where we were and what we'd done. But I remember
Yeah.
it being very comfortable. And that's when I think we first met. And then we both
Mm.
went and continued growing our businesses in different ways. And I remember watching you online develop and grow your specific niche into boudoir photography. And now you're even
Yeah.
growing that more, taking that specialty that you developed and developing that into body positivity. But why don't we just start? You can tell us like how you even started with photography and how that turned into a niche business in boudoir, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. So, how did I start with photography? Feels like so many years ago. It was about a decade ago. My husband and I, we had just made Aliyah, and we were starting our family here in Israel. And my husband actually got into the photography business first, and I really actually like the business end of things. So I was like, okay, I'll do the marketing and I'll style your photo shoots and do all of the behind the scenes kind of work. And as he started growing as an artist and a photographer, he started showing me some things like technically how I could use the camera. And I realized that what he was doing was really telling stories. And after certain shoots, I'd be like, oh, well, I wanted to tell like the story this way. And I want to have a voice through photography as well. And I always loved photography. I just never thought that I could actually be a photographer myself. And I just, we had the equipment and he was already doing it. So I picked up a camera and I started practicing, and we kind of cultivated our business together. And we did like weddings and portraits and bar mitzvahs, like everything, you name it. Of course, like to make a parnasa here in Israel, it's not always so easy in the beginning. And we just did everything that we possibly could. But as we progressed as photographers, we started to see like what we liked doing and what we were good at and what meant the most to us. And when I was doing wedding photography, I started photographing the brides and really having a connection with like, women when they're getting their makeup done and doing portraits. And people would say like, you're so much more than a photographer. Like, I feel like I have my best friend on my side all day. And that was really special. I was, fixing their hair and makeup and running and like, telling their their friends or whatever, like what they needed. And it was really special. And I really loved that connection. And as we were learning about photography, I came across this genre of photography called boudoir photography. And I thought it was really cool because it combined so many of the things that I loved about photography into one thing. And boudoir photography.
Before you go on, can I just,
Sure.
I just like, I'm fascinated
Sure.
by your story because you're completely self-taught, right? You
Yeah.
didn't take a course to teach you how to
No.
look at photography, lighting, angles. It's something that's very intuitive, right?
Yeah, it's very intuitive for me. Like even to this day, I'm so not a technical photographer. So like if you were to take a class from me, like I wouldn't even know all the words that I need to say, like, oh, this aperture and this, everything. Like thank God, like I definitely know the basics, but it's so intuitive to me that I know what I need to do in order to like create the image that I want. And that's just how I like learning and how I like creating images. So even though I did, go online and go on YouTube and figure out what I needed to do in order to like achieve the results that I wanted, I didn't ever have any formal education. And I'm happy that I didn't.
How do you think that's helped you in your career?
I think that what I hear from other photographers that have gone to school or had formal education is that there's so many rules that you're supposed to abide by to have a technically good picture. And I think that in me not having those rules in my mind of like, this teacher said this and this textbook said this, that I really can be open to breaking the rules and seeing the images just as they are and being like, is this beautiful to me or not? And who cares if it's like technically perfect or super sharp, or maybe it's blurry and I love that, and maybe it's composed in a way that no one's composed an image before. So I like to break the rules and be a little bit rebellious.
Is that what led you to boudoir photography? Because it's a place where you can break the rules?
I think so, maybe a little bit. I liked that it was different and unique. But I think what also really led me to it was that connection with women and knowing that like when you're in that space of being so vulnerable, which we haven't really even talked about what boudoir photography is, but boudoir photography is intimate portraiture of women. And they're either in lingerie or even nude. And when you are in that vulnerable place, it's very hard not to be more authentic and more genuine. And I like to be able to like see people for who they really are and connect to them on that level. And sorry, my
No
something came up on my phone. So I really like to be able to connect to them at that level. And I think it's kind of like a world that no one else gets to see. And I love that.
And the women who come to you for boudoir photography, what is their motivation? What's their impetus? Like, why do they do it?
Why do they do it? I mean, there's so many different reasons. I think in the beginning, I started marketing it as like, do this as a gift for your partner, like do it as a fun pampering day. And it was a little bit more like surface level than what it has become, because I found how empowering and special it can be. And still a lot of people come because like it's their anniversary or their husband's birthday is coming up and they want to give a gift to their partner. But generally I feel like that's more of like, I don't want to say excuse, but like, yeah, kind of like an excuse to do this for themselves and really connect with like who they are as a woman and explore their sexuality, to feel beautiful, to see themselves in a new light. So that's generally why people want to do it. And we all have, different stories and reasons for the way that we see ourselves. And those stories generally come out like in the boudoir process. And taking the pictures is like a documentation of where that woman is at in their life, which is really special.
So how do you, as a photographer who has a very unique and special lens, like focus, way that you look at women, and women come to you all different shapes and sizes. I know some of them can be before birth, after birth, pregnant. They can have had aberrations, other events that have gone on in their life. How do
Right.
you,
Or older.
right? How do you look at the women, view the women, and how through your ability to hold space for them and create that very comfortable environment for them when they're the most vulnerable, how do your clients transform during your morning together, during your day together? What is, besides a beautiful, photo album, what does she get when she's done? How does she change?
That's a really good question. So I think, wow. I mean, I feel like I said, I think it's different for every woman, but and it's not just the experience of the actual photo session. Like from the minute that they contact me, we set up a time to do a consultation. And what is special about the consultation is that I get to know them, but they also kind of get to know themselves. Like I ask them questions that will help them be a little bit more self-aware of their story and their relationship with their body so that they can walk into the shoot feeling clear about the reasons why they're doing it and how they want to be photographed and how they want to express themselves. So that's already kind of on the table. And then they come in and like get their professional hair and makeup done. And that's kind of like a girl time when I provide, like you said, I provide that space for them to be themselves and to feel comfortable in their own skin and who they are, and know that like I'm not judging them in any way, shape, or form. And I think, I mean, what the biggest thing that women have said about boudoir sessions is that they like proved to themselves that they could do it. Like it was something that was so scary and out of the realm of something that they would like, most people have not done a boudoir session in their life. So the idea of it is really scary and it's really vulnerable. I mean, a lot of women don't even like being in normal pictures. So to be in front of a camera and to have very little clothing on is super vulnerable and it can be very scary, the idea of it. But then once they do it, they feel like the sense of accomplishment that they did something that was outside of their comfort zone and it made them feel so good. So I think that's just the first thing that people get out of it. And just to feel like they can be themselves and be authentic in their skin. And then when the photos come, it's like a whole nother thing. And hopefully they can have some kind of mindset transformation where they see themselves in a more compassionate light. And maybe there are things that they're insecure about that when they look at the pictures, they're like, oh, wow, like it's not as bad as I thought it was, or even it's so much more beautiful than I could ever imagine. And I mean, that's what I really hope for women.
And you look at each woman with her own body, taller, shorter, more heavy, less heavy, whatever. I mean, using our common, I guess, way that we would, whatever generalized approach to measuring women, which is all crazy. Because if you look out in the wild, you have giraffes and horses and hippopotamuses and birds
Everything
and
has
snakes,
its unique,
and they're all different sizes and different shapes, but we have this vision from the media that there's supposed to be a one size fits all, and all women have to fit one size. And you don't see it that way at all, and help your clients, I think, view themselves as beautiful in their own skin. And I know you've recently done a couple of like 5-day, what did you call them, retreats or journeys, or for women to love their body, and you're taking that one step further to create a 6-week course. So I want you to share with us how you took this concept of women and loving their body through boudoir, and you're taking that like a step higher into body positivity.
Yeah. So I feel like when you were explaining how I view women, I love that I've gotten to that place in my life of really broadening my perspective of what I think is beautiful, and walking into each session and really being able to take the beauty that I see and document it, and see beauty in every single woman and different body shapes and sizes. But it wasn't always that way for me. I grew up like a normal teenager in America that's seeing all of these images and all of these messages of what we're supposed to be and what we're what we're supposed to look like. And I did have a personal journey with that as well, and went through school feeling like pretty isolated from my peers and being bullied, and not feeling like I was ever beautiful enough or thin enough, and going through all of those emotions as well. So when I started boudoir photography, even though, thank God, I was always able to give women that space, I definitely am not where mentally, I was not where I am today. And through photographing women, I was able to see so much more beauty, and also be more compassionate to myself. And over these 8 years, I found that not only being a photographer and like coming into the session, having that positive lens and focusing on what I see as beautiful and reaffirming that in my mind over and over and over again, that's one thing that I did. But I've also like gone to therapy and done yoga and meditation. And I got really into like psychology books and podcasts, and I was like obsessed with this idea that we are able to change the way that we think about ourselves, because I was experiencing it in my own life, and I wanted to continue on that journey, and I wanted to be able to help my clients do that as well. So then I started setting up the sessions in a way, like I said, like the consultation and the hair and makeup, and really providing them a therapeutic space to do what they need to do. And with the course, I wanted to reach more women. Like, not everyone is ready to jump into a boudoir session, and not everyone, isn't even in the same area as me. And now with COVID, it's hard to travel and stuff like that. And I thought that a course could really reach more women, and I could give them the tools that I've used for myself and for my clients, and put it into really fun and simple and practical steps that they can do, and we can do as a community, in order to bring more body positivity to our lives and feel confident in our skin and get those kind of benefits that, so many of the women that I've worked with got.
So when a woman goes through your course, what sort of, projects, homework, modules, what are you going to talk about, and how are you going to guide them through this process of going from where they are to more body positivity and feeling more comfortable in their own skin?
It's a good question. So I've broken up the course into 6 weeks, and each week is going to have a different theme. So, like, for example, the first week is self-reflection and awareness, and that is something, that could take, years to really be like truly aware of yourself. But each day I'm going to have journal prompts. Oh, my thing's falling off. It will be interspersed with journal prompts and assignments, and recorded videos of me talking about different concepts of like self-reflection and awareness, and audio meditations. But it sounds like a lot, but each day is going to be like really simple. It's going to be less than 20-minute time investment. And it's just a way for women to kind of like take a deep breath and step back and give that time to themselves, and think about the things that we don't think about just because, we're running on autopilot and we're living our lives and we have busy lives. So then there's like self-reflection and awareness. And then like the next one was like decluttering. So that whether that's like your social media or like kind of like analyzing the relationships in your life, or decluttering your room or your wardrobe, there's going to be like, little tasks and assignments and One of the major things that I'm excited about is the community aspect. And I've noticed that it's been so special, that I've had a community around my boudoir photography for the last 5 years. And now it's a group of about 3,500 women. And it's really an incredible place where people feel comfortable like sharing their stories, whether they're a client of mine or not, but sharing their stories about body positivity and self-love and feminism and all of these concepts that are just so integral and important in our lives. And it's a safe space that people can be and not feel judged. And I want to implement that in the course as well, where like people are really connecting with each other. I'm doing like a Zoom ceremony in the beginning, in the middle of and end of the 6-week course, so that the women can interact with each other and meet each other and feel like they aren't alone in this process. And I think that's just a really important part of growth and feeling better about ourselves.
I think that's so. Even this morning when you and I were speaking, and I shared a story that I remembered, like, and we all have these stories that live inside of us. And you gave me that quote from Brene Brown, which you'll mention at the end.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I remembered when I was working out this morning, and I was noticing as I was doing my squats, the muscles in my legs, right? And that triggered a memory from when I was like 11 or 12, and I was in summer camp, and the girls were all talking, and they were saying, right, when you keep your legs together, you're supposed to have like 4 like spaces between your legs, 2 in your thighs, 2 in your calves. And if you didn't have those spaces, right, that you were like, you were fat, or your thighs were fat. I mean, and that's the message that
Right.
like, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about that, but sometimes something
But
will
it's
happen, and
there.
something will like trigger that memory, and we carry the stuff around in our hearts and in our mind and in our nervous system. And even if it has no basis in
Yes.
reality, something that's just like taking away from our feeling of enoughness and worthiness, because these thoughts are looping in our brain, and sometimes they pop
Right.
up to
Because we don't have a thigh gap that
right.
Cindy
Right, that
told
makes
you.
me like less
Cindy
than
told you
someone
you
else.
needed to have at camp. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, totally. Yeah, the quote was, I just heard it a couple of days ago. She said that there's stories living inside of us that we didn't give permission to be there. And I thought that was so powerful, because we don't right, like we didn't give permission for them to be there, and we don't have to give weight to them. Like we don't have to let that hold us back from living, the life that we want. Like when we think about these stories, are they just a memory, or do they dictate how we think about ourselves? And I think that when I've done my own inner work, I've seen that little by little, there is so much more emotional freedom around these stories. Like I can talk about it more freely now. Like if I were to sit here and tell you about like being bullied when, like, even just 5 years ago, and I said, oh, this kid, he called me a fat Jewish pig. And I remember, like, right now, like there's like a little bit of a reaction in my body. Like I can't say it like has completely gone away, but even 5 or 6 years ago, I might have not even said that, because I believed it,
Right.
and doing the inner work is so important, and it works. Like I
Yeah.
see, I've seen that over the years, like through all of these things of just like being aware of myself and going to therapy um, and and implementing these tools that I'm going to be giving to other women, I just really feel so much better and more free. And those stories really don't live inside of me the same way that they did before. But it's a journey, and it takes a lot.
Yeah. Took years and years and years for them to get like embedded in. You think of like the earth where you like pound it down, right? And it's just like
Yeah.
very, very solid. So you've got to take a pitchfork and turn over the earth and excavate it and let it out. And it does take time. But I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that you're bringing this work to the world. And I know that all the women who are going to be in the course are going to feel very, very different, just releasing those useless stories that we didn't give permission to live inside of us, but they just came in. There are other people's stories that
Mm-hmm.
were like plugged in and programmed into our brains. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you're going to help women to release them, let go of them, just even be aware of
Mm-hmm.
them so that you can decide if you
Yeah.
want it to trigger you. Because we probably can't like completely erase it and wipe it clean. But if it doesn't, like you said, you still feel a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of angst or
Yeah.
discomfort when you think of that story, but it doesn't have to be debilitating. And when you have that
Right.
emotional freedom, you can show up, whether whether you own your own business like you do as a
Yeah.
photographer, or like I do, or you're, working somewhere else, whether you're a mom taking care of kids,
Right.
and when you're feeling comfortable in your skin, you don't snap at your kids so much because you feel like you're good, just like, or your husband, right? Like
Yeah.
you
Right.
have that. I love what you said, emotional freedom and the compassion and love for yourself so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, and totally. And being an entrepreneur, like there are things that are uncomfortable and there are things that are scary. So if you have those tools that, you use for body positivity or self-love, that like you know that you have to go through the discomfort in order to get the result that you want, then it's just much easier to just do it scared. We can do hard things. And then you get to the other side and you make more money and you're more successful and you can give to your clients and your people, and that's just what it's all about.
Amazing. So anybody who's interested in your course, how can she find out about it?
So they could contact me like on Facebook. Feel free to direct message me. You could also go to the website rebeccasigala.com/yourbodyyourhome. And my email address is rebecca@rebeccasigala.com. So I would love for you to contact me if you're interested, and if you have any questions or you just want to chat, I am available.
Amazing. And the course starts on November 15th. It starts on Sunday.
Yeah, on
There's going to be this
Sunday. It's going to be
beautiful
like the
opening
first. Yeah, I'm doing an opening like ceremony that's going to be interactive, like I mentioned. Call it like a sisterhood circle, and I think it's going to just be really fun and also powerful, and I can't wait for it.
ceremony. Okay, great. Well, I wish you continued success, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I loved all your questions.
Thanks, Rebecca. Have a good night.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.